Because imagine being so much of a dingleberry that you put an offer in for a buyer and you put $10,000 in due diligence because they were really excited about the house. And had you only opened the crawl space door, you would have seen 10 inches of standing water, but you didn't bother to do that. Tom asked if suicide in the house is a material fact. Short answer, no. But we're going to talk about that. Hang tight. We're going to get there. Y'all are on it. We're going to get there. When we're talking about facts about the property itself, folks, I mean, it's literally the things that you could see. Structural defects, malfunctioning systems, leaky roofs, drainage issues, flood problems, anything that's wrong with the house. This is where we get into the actual defects. This is not typically the positives, although I told you, depending on who you're talking to, like a seller, there could be positive facts about the property itself. Pests, for sure. Let me provide a point of clarity here. Because remember a few moments ago, I told you that every single one of those material facts, disciplinary actions, and those statistics I gave you were avoidable. And I mean that. Because we have what we call latent defects. Latent means you can't find them. And so let's go back to Robbie's example of radon. Folks, radon is a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas, okay? You will never know it's there. It is the exact opposite of what your bestie for the resty does after y'all eat Taco Bell. You know what I'm saying? You're going to know about that one. But the radon, you will never, ever know that there's an issue. Folks, what is the only way to know there's a radon issue?
A test.
A test. That's it. And so the stance of the commission is if it's something that we can't discover, we have no obligation to discover it. And so that makes it a latent defect, which is why I told you that every single one of those disciplinary actions was avoidable. Let me give you folks some really, really, really good news, okay? You are not a structural engineer, a home inspector, an electrical engineer. You're not a plumber. You're not any of these things unless you are. And in that case, that's on you. But excuse me. For most of us, we're none of those things. We're just real estate professionals. And so what that means for us, you ready for this? This is the good part. What that means for us, folks, is that you're not required to get on your hands and knees and do the army crawl through somebody's crawl space. Because the Lord knows if we were, most of us wouldn't be in here, right? I just saw some of you shudder. Heebie-jeebies, right? There's creepy crawlies in there, Seth. You don't think I'd ever go in there, right? And so there's no expectation to go into somebody's crawl space. But, let me give you some really, really sound advice. And hopefully I'm echoing what you already know. But let me give you some really sound advice here, folks. Don't you ever put an offer in on a home for a buyer or list a home for a seller without opening the daggum crawl space door and putting your peepers on the inside of it. You know what I'm saying? Don't you ever. Because while you're not expected to crawl in there, folks, there are a lot of telltale signs that you can see by opening that son of a gun, right? Because imagine being so much of a dingleberry that you put an offer in for a buyer and you put $10,000 in due diligence because they were really excited about the house. And had you only opened the crawl space door, you would have seen 10 inches of standing water, but you didn't bother to do that. You think the commission is going to deem that as discoverable if all you had to do was turn a latch? Boop. I'd say so. Don't you ever list a house or put an offer in on a home without opening that crawl space door and looking. Because there's a lot of things, right? Standing water, bad. Okay. Vapor barrier, good. Pest problem, bad. Snakes, really bad, right? Fallen insulation, bad. Bad smells, bad, right? Moisture issues, microbial growth, fallen insulation, bad. There's a lot of things you can see just by taking your cellular device that has a light on it and shining it in there, right? You just look in there and you're going to save yourself a world of hurt because I promise you, those are deemed discoverable. If it's in the back left corner of the crawl space, that's not discoverable. You had no obligation to crawl back there. But if you don't open that door, I promise you're going to have some issues. You with me? Let me give you another piece of advice. The attic. Same thing. Folks, there is no requirement for you to go to every corner of the attic. All right, but attics are a little less creepy. Typically, they're hot, but they're less creepy than the crawl space. Now, if it's a scuttle access, you know, where you have to like and like slide the thing over, you're probably not going to be able to get in there because I don't know about you. I don't keep a ladder in my back pocket. But if it's a pull down attic access, folks, you need to at least lay eyes on that as well for the same reasons. There's a lot of things you can discover. Folks, I have coined a phrase. You ready for this? I'm going to let you can use this if you want. If you don't at least meerkat that son of a gun, we got some issues, right? And you're like, what? You ain't never seen a meerkat, right? You pop in there and you just look around. Cheryl knew what I was talking about. I didn't even have to like do that. I said meerkat. Cheryl was like, yeah, see, y'all know. Just meerkat that son of a gun. Folks, pull this attic stairs down, climb up there, pop your head up. Once again, shine your flashlight. And there's a lot of things you could see. Because if you see if you see water stains, that's a problem. If you see light coming through the ceiling or the where the roof is, that's a problem. If you see mold, that's an issue. If you see lacking insulation, that's an issue. Let me tell you about another really bad one that you might see up there. Bats. You didn't know? Folks, bats is a bad thing, okay? Because they're endangered, okay? They're protected, should I say. They're protected. Folks, if you've never dealt with bats, buckle up, Buttercup, because you can't just go in there and spray Raid in their face and murder them little buggers. You've got to have a specialist come in and remove them, all right? They're protected. If you kill them, you get major fines if somebody finds out. Folks, let me tell you something else you may or may not have known about bats. Okay, you ready for this? If it's mating season, you got to let them do the brown chicken, brown cow before you can remove them. You can't take them out in the middle of mating season. You got to let them finish. Okay? Yeah, it's your house. You got to let them do the brown chicken, brown. Folks, you cannot remove bats during mating season. You got to wait for it to end, and then you can have a specialist remove them. That's a big old deal, isn't it? And sometimes you can just see these things and make your life a lot easier just by looking. You with me? So that's just some good sound advice, folks. I would impress this upon you before you list a house or put an offer in on a house. Try to discover what you can, because at the end of the day, when you don't find this stuff and it becomes a huge snafu, that's what the question the commission's going to ask. Was this discoverable, right? Was this discoverable?